Okay.
All right, guys. So, what you have been doing for the last day or so is you've been going over persuasive passages and having an understanding of why the author uses reasons and evidence to support their topic on which they're talking about. So, today, what we're going to do is we're going to be reading a passage called Should We Settle the Moon? And this is a persuasive essay about space exploration. So first, what we'll do is we'll read it. I'm going to call on some students to read the paragraphs out loud, and then what you're going to do is you're going to reread it over, and then you're going to get a general idea of what the main point is being said within this essay. And then when you read it again by yourself, you are going to study the reasons and evidence that supports the author's point. I am going to start and then I'm going to call on somebody randomly to read. So please make sure that you are paying attention, because if you don't know where we're at, that's telling me that you're not paying attention while we're reading. Should we settle the moon? Whenever people say let's shoot for the moon, they mean that anything is possible. So when people think of space exploration, a colony on the moon seems like the next step. The views from the moon would be spectacular, and being a moon station would be exciting, but it is feasible. Jakari, pick up and read.
Teachers and students, please excuse this interruption. Teachers, our fourth grade students will be testing today. If you're going to building 1 or building 7 or the media center, please be mindful that we do have students testing. Again, that's building 1, 7, and media center. Thank you.
Let's start with the moon's surface, which is not an easy place for life to thrive. There is little atmosphere, so all our air would have be brought from Earth. The lack of atmosphere causes temperature to vary greatly from 232 Fahrenheit during the day to 315 Fahrenheit at night. And then there's the radiation. Without a thick Earth-like atmosphere to filter the sun's rays, radiation would sicken any colonist.
Thank you, Jakari. Sakaya, can you pick up?
And what about water? True, there is ice below the moon's surface. If astronauts can mine that ice, they can melt it and use it to make oxygen and rocket fuel. But if the ice is unreachable, all water would have to be carted up to the moon, a cumbersome and unworkable task.
Breon, continue.
But the biggest obstacle to living on the moon is the regolith. Regolith is the layer of fine stone dust. It covers almost the entire surface and sticks to everything. It can gum up to a spacesuit, jam an engine, and running machines. Worst of all, if we couldn't find a way to keep it out of the colonies, it would destroy the lungs of everyone living there.
Zariah, read the
So
rest.
we
So we will, so we, so we, wait, so will we ever have to moon cone? Never say never, but today our technology does not make the ideal particle.
Thank you. Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to reread this over by yourself. And while you're rereading this over, I want you to think about these questions. Why would the sun's rays make people sick on the moon? How would people get water if they lived on the moon? And I'm also going to write this inside of the chat so you can remember the questions after, because after we're going to go over the questions. But I want you to have an understanding when you're reading something. I'm asking these questions so you can have a better understanding of what you're reading. You may begin. Once you're done, let me know.
Miss Davis, can you move up the screen a little bit? Willamisha doesn't have her laptop and she's reading off of the board. Thank you.
Giving you another 2 minutes. You have another minute left. Jakari, I hope you have my answers. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to answer the two questions that I put inside the chat. The first question was, why would the sun's ray make the people sick on the moon? Who can tell me the answer by raising your hand, not calling out? Go ahead, Jakari.
Because there's no air.
Antoine, do you agree or disagree with him? I want you to explain that out loud if you agree or disagree with him. So unmute yourself. Antoine. Do you agree with him? I want you to think about it and we'll come back to you, but you should be knowing your answer right away. Zariah, do you agree with Jakari or you disagree?
I agree.
Why do you agree with him?
Because in paragraph 2, it say Earth-like animals to feel the sun's ray, addition with sickness, any clones, Tony's.
Thank you. So I like how Zariah went back inside the essay and she pointed out what paragraph that gives the reason why Jakari's answer is correct. So great job, Jakari and Zariah. The next question was, how would people get water if they lived on the moon? How would people get water if they lived on the moon? Raise your hand. So far, I see Antoine, I see Zariah, I see Jakari. Go ahead, Sakaya.
They would if they had to mine my ice first, and then they had to and they melted it so it can go to oxygen and then make rocket fuel. But if the ice was unreachable, all the water would have to be created up to the moon, which was an unworkable task.
Great job. Okay, so where did you find your answer at? What paragraph?
Paragraph 3.
Correct. Good job, Sakaya. Okay, so before we move on into the questions, I have another question for you. What do you think the word feasible means? What do you think the word feasible means? If you look on paragraph 1, it is the last word inside of the paragraph. Use your context clues to figure out what that word means. If you know what that word means, in the last sentence of paragraph 1, I want you to tell me by raising your hand. Go ahead, Antoine.
Does it mean hard or easy or something?
You're close. You are close. Anybody else want to give it a shot? Anastasia? I see Shanasia looking, using her context clues. Alexis, give it a try.
I think it means possible.
Great job, Alexis. It means possible. Okay, so now we have a better understanding of what that word means. It means possible. It's possible to create a colony on the moon. That's where the essay is trying to prove. Okay, so let's move on. Now what we're going to do is we are going to answer these questions. I don't know why this is moving slow. We have question 1 that has part A and a part B, and then we have question 2. This is the only 2 we're going to focus on right now, and then we'll move on to 3. So I want you to think about using the information that you just read about. Think about that and how you're going to find the answers to the following questions. Question 1 says, this question has 2 parts. Answer part A, then answer part B. Part A says, which statement below provides a reason the author uses in paragraph 2 to support her main points about settling on the moon? And then part B says, underline 3 pieces of evidence in paragraph 2 of should we settle the moon that supports the answer in part A. So let me break this down. What you're doing is you are giving me an answer here from A, B, C, and D. And then you're underlining 3 pieces of evidence. So you should be underlining 3 things, 3 sentences that are evidence in paragraph 2. It even tells you where to look at of should we settle the moon that supports your answer. Okay? So I am going to have you do that first, and then we'll move on. But keep in mind that on the bottom it says whatever evidence you put, you're underlining it, and then you're going to stop right here because I want you to underline it first and then us go over it, and then we'll move on to number 2 and number 3. Does everybody understand? Give me a thumbs up if you understand. So the only thing you're doing right now is you are answering part A and underlining only in the paragraph. Thank you. You may go. I'm giving you about 4 minutes because this is super easy.
Can you please lower it so Willamisha can see question 1?
Yes, I can. Today's focus. Jakari, I'm not sure what you're doing, but you're not paying attention. I see Antoine focus, Raya's focus. Rashad looks like he's into it. I see you, Rashad. You working a little hard today, huh? Anastasia's focus. Zamaya, I don't see your face. I don't see your head. All I see is the lights. I need to see something. Alexis asks, how do we underline it? What you can do is you can highlight it and you can write it down on a piece of paper if you're inside the classroom. If you are at home, what you're going to do is you're going to highlight it and you can either write it on a piece of paper or you can copy it and paste it onto a Word doc so you remember what you highlighted. That was a very good question, Alexis. You're welcome. Thank you, Zamaya. Wow, look at all these focused faces today. Breon, turn your camera on because I don't see you anymore. Thank you, Breon. You have about 2 more minutes left. Rashad, you finish? You got 1 more minute. Okay, you are going to put your answer for question number 1 inside of the chat within 10 seconds because you should already have the answer to that. Once I'm finished counting down to 1, then if you don't put it inside of the chat, guess what? It tells me that you're not participating and you didn't write an answer or you don't have an answer. So start putting it inside of the chat. 10. This is only for question number 1. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I got answers from Antoine, Tazaya, Anaya, Jaquan, Jakari, Zariah, Sakaya, Anastasia, Alexis, Breon, Amonte, now Tanaya, Anijah said D, and Shanasia said B. Okay, so I'm going to call on Tazaya. Tazaya, you chose to answer D. Can you explain to me why you chose D?
I chose the answer D because in paragraph 2 it says and then there's the the radiation without a thick earth-like atmosphere to filter the sun's rays. Radiation would sicken any colonist.
Okay, but the question is asking you which statement below provides a reason the author uses.
And I picked D.
But listen to me carefully. The author uses in paragraph 2 to support her main idea about settling on the moon. Does D tell me what's her main point about settling on the moon? Does it give it, what do you know her main point, Tazaya? Tazaya.
Can you say the question again?
I said, do you know her main point of why to settle on the moon? Do you need some help, Tazaya?
No.
What's the whole purpose about settling on this moon? Anastasia, what's the main point? Can we settle on the moon or no?
It's unlikely for us to settle on the moon with the technology we have.
Thank you, Anastasia. So if you put B, the moon's surface is dangerous environment for life, Anastasia just explained the reason why. Okay? So if you put B, your answer is correct. Okay, moving on. So who can raise their hand and tell me, Josiah, mute yourself, underline what they underlined in paragraph 2. 3 pieces that they underlined in paragraph 2. Raise your hand, raise your hand. Breon. Tell me one of the pieces you underlined in paragraph 2.
One of them was One of them was without a thick Earth-like atmosphere to filter the sun's radiation. Wait,
Good. Okay, that's good.
radiation.
Okay, good job,
Earth-like
Brian.
atmosphere. Mm.
Let's see, Sakaya. What's another thing?
There is little atmosphere, so all the air would have to be brought from Earth.
Okay, that's a good one. I need one more. Anaya Francis.
The lack of atmosphere causes temperature very greatly.
Thank you. Good job. Okay, so that is correct. Breon talked about the radiation and how it would sicken the colonius, and then we talked about the lack of atmosphere, which Anaya just said, and how the temperatures can be vary greatly from these low points Fahrenheit. And then we also talked about how it has little atmosphere and it wouldn't allow us to have air, which goes into the lack of atmosphere. So I think you guys did a great job with that. Make sure you clear your hands inside of the participation. Okay, so now what I want you to do is question number 2 says, what evidence does the author give to support her line of reasoning about this particular word? Okay, Rigoloff. Write 2 pieces of evidence inside the box below. So what you're going to do is you are going to actually go back inside of the essay and you are going to look for this word. I want you to use your context clues and figure out the meaning of this word. And why is it being used? It says, what evidence does the author give to support her line of reasoning? So you have to go back inside of the passage and find that word. Use your context clues to figure out what's the meaning of the word. And then you have to give those 2 pieces of evidence and write them inside of the box. After you are done, you are going to say you're done inside of the chat. We will review it and then we'll stop for today. You may begin. Rashad, I know you're not eating on camera. Tanaya's working. Anaya's working. Shadeja look like she's rereading it. Rashad looks focused again. Oh, Breon looks focused again. Alexis, yes, you can use the bathroom. Make sure you think about what it is and how it can affect people. Make sure you think about what it is and how it can affect people. It's giving you a hint. You have another minute. Jakari and Anaya's finished. Jaden, turn your camera on. Tanaya, give me the first evidence that you wrote down inside of the box or on your paper. Give me the first evidence that you wrote.
It is a layer of fine stone dust.
Okay, good. And now what happens to this stone dust? What can it damage? Shadeja, hold on, Tanaya. Shadeja. She must have it on mute. Go ahead, Tanaya.
Um,
Can it damage anything? If somebody, Tazaya, help her out.
In, in passage 4, in paragraph 4, it says it can gum up a spacesuit, jam an engine, and ruin machines.
Thank you, Tazaya. Great job. Okay, Breon, give me a second piece of evidence. Brian looked frozen. Antoine, help him out, because something happened with his camera. He looked frozen, and he must have come back on. Give me the second evidence.
It can destroy your lungs.
Thank you, Antoine. Great job. It can destroy your lungs. The stone dust can destroy people's lungs, and which makes it hard for them to breathe, and then they won't be able to breathe at all on there. Okay, thank you. So what you're going to do now is that you are going to go to the organizer and you are going to write what points does the author make about settling the moon and what reason and evidence does it provide to support your answers from the essay. So what you're going to do is you're going to do the chart. After you do the chart, you are submitted it in. Ms. Trawick, we are done.